Hey gang, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition here of Intuitive Angling. Much appreciated you guys joining me for today's tip. And I got a good one for you today. I'm going to show you guys how to modify your chatterbaits into making them into a big gizzard shad that are really good for big pre-spawn bass. Coming up probably over the next 2 months, this setup's going to work. It's one that's worked for me all over the country, and I'm going to show you how I set it up here. So real quick, just want to remind you guys, if you guys want us to help support the channel out, probably one of the best ways you can do it is just hit that subscribe button. I know that half the dudes out there that are watching these videos are not subscribed to the channel. Like I said, if I say something that irritates you, which I know I do quite often to a lot of you guys, you can always unsubscribe. But if you guys like some of the stuff I'm putting out, man, just hit that subscribe button. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, I'm going to show you guys how I rig up I call it the Gizzard Shad Chatterbait setup. And the reason that I use this setup is that once that water temperature starts getting into the low 50s, which we're going to be over the next 3 weeks, I mean, depending upon the weather patterns and the lakes that you're fishing around the country, some of your areas may already be into that. Up in my part of the country, we still have water temperatures sort of like in the mid 40s right now, 45 to 47. But really over the next 3 weeks or so, it's going to start creeping up. Daylight hours are getting longer, and it's just the natural cycle. And we're going to be entering the early pre-spawn. Right now we're in the late winter phase, early pre-spawn's on the way. And guys, the reason that I've came up with this chatterbait setup here is that in the early pre-spawn, the shad in the lake that you fish are the biggest that they are all year long. It's the longest period that they have went since they've spawned. And you know, they're going to start spawning again probably in May or so. But right now, the shad, and specifically the gizzard shad, are bigger than they are any other times of the year. And that's why big baits work so good in the pre-spawn. And there's not a better time to catch big ones than in the pre-spawn. That's when all the giant bass are caught pretty much throughout the year. But in order to catch those big ones, you have to use big baits. So that's what I'm going to show you here. So the setup I'm talking about here, we're going to start out with just a 3/8 to half ounce chatterbait, whichever you prefer, depending upon the water depth. Blades, like I said, I just got this one out. This is a scratched up black one, but I usually, when I'm trying to resemble shad, I go with a straight silver blade, but this is just the one I pulled out here. And the trailer that I'm going to use on it is just a 5-inch Megabass Spark Shad. This is a big chunk of plastic. It's over 5 inches long. Perfect size for resembling those gizzard shad. This is the size of a lot of the gizzard shad here. And I'm going to show you guys how I set it up and rig it. First of all, you can catch fish on it just like this, but one of the big keys to this is modifying the spark shad once you get it rigged up, because the spark shad, it's got a lot of meat on it there. It's got a flat back, it's got a lot of plastic there. And when you're using it like a belly hook, you want that to sort of give it the keel. But on the chatterbait, I'm going to knock some of this off here in order to make it work a little bit better. So first of all, we're going to rig it on here. And it's so critical, guys, when you're rigging this like a straight piece of plastic on a chatterbait, like the spark shad, that you get it on perfectly straight. Because if you don't, that chatterbait's going to roll to one side, and you really need to get it on not only straight, but you have to get it on where the bait is completely flat. So sometimes that requires just a little bit of practice here. I got it on pretty good right there off the bat. So see, I've got my hook perfectly centered, got it set like that. So big bait there, big gizzard shad. So the next thing I do on this thing is take my pair of scissors, and I want to try to knock some of this edge off right here, because what happens is I don't really need this much plastic around the hook, and sometimes this can be an impediment to actually hooking the fish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm going to come in, I'm going to knock some of this side off right here, just from behind the hook a little bit. I'm going to come up there, and the main thing this is going to do, see, you can see me knock that off there. Here's the side I haven't knocked off, here's the side I have. This is going to give me a little bit more a hook gap there to hook the fish, coming in like that. Okay, so here it is, guys, simple rig up. This is my chatterbait gizzard shad setup, no skirt on it. 5-inch mega bass spark shad, looking like a shad. Like I said, normally I use a silver blade, and I'll take and I'll scrape the paint off. I like a silver head on there, so I'll just take a knife and I'll scrape the paint off of there. Guys, this will catch you a big one right here. I'm telling you right now. Fish at the same places that you would slow roll the spinnerbait on. Channel swing banks, ripraps real good with this thing. Off the ends of laydowns, that type of stuff. Around dock corners, transition banks. Same type of place you'd fish your traditional chatterbaits. Excuse me. Over hydrilla or milfoil if you have some of the lakes down south, the TVA lakes in Texas. But just a quick tip, guys, this will get you a big one. I'm telling you right now. The top baits, or actually 3 of the top baits I like to fish in the pre-spawn is a big jig with a big trailer, a big spinnerbait, like a 3/4 ounce spinnerbait with a big number 7 willow leaf on it, and the big Gizzard Shad Chatterbait will get you a good one there. So I know a lot of people have got the chatterbait is very trendy, and a lot of people right now are throwing that firecracker, you know, the orange and red one, you know, that's a big deal. They just don't see this much, so give it a try, guys. Also, another thing I'll do sometimes is I'll take a chartreuse marking pen, and I'll put a little bit of chartreuse down the side, or maybe some on the tail if the water's a little off colored. But I'll be throwing this over a lot over the next month or so. So anyway, guys, just a quick tip. I think it's going to help you catch a couple of really good fish coming up the next couple months. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back later. See you.